Danfodio University in Sokoto. He proceeded to the United Kingdom, where he attended the MSc course in power electronics and drives, and the MSc courses in communications engineering. He further obtained an MPhil degree in electrical and electronic engineering, all from the University of Birmingham. He returned briefly to Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto to lecture before going back to the UK to study for his PhD in electronic and electrical engineering at the Aston University, and he subsequently undertook an MBA finance from the Birmingham Business School. He's involved in so many things in the telecommunications industry, almost a walking dictionary of communications. He's also on the board of the NCPC and a very, very active participant in Nigerian political affairs. He's happily married with children and a proud citizen of Nigeria. We're going to be asking Dr. Gwandu to talk on 2 or 3 fronts and 2 or 3 levels with us this evening. Working with him at close range over the past 4 or 5 years, I know he's a very detailed man, very cerebral, and very, very interested in the Nigerian project and the well-being of Nigeria. And we'll be going to be asking him to talk as to the issue of true federalism, what the options are. We're trying to take opinions from different and diverse parts of Nigeria. We've taken an opinion from the West, we've taken an opinion from the East. We're going to be looking at an opinion from the North, which Dr. Gwandu represents. And then we'll probably look very briefly again at the South, and then maybe look at the other regions in the Northwest and the Northeast and so on and so forth, so that we can try to, on this platform, form a strong, hegemonic, forward-looking, forward-thinking group of people who really want the best from Nigeria. And we cannot leave Dr. Gwandu without looking at his area of specific emphasis and specialty, knowledge and technicality, and that's in the communications industry. And we're going to be asking him a few questions as to how communications can help economy, how communications can help leadership, how communications can help even politics, and what Nigeria should be doing as a communications roadmap going into the future. I want to thank all those who are on the platform. I'm not going to be able to mention everybody by name, but I'm going to be expecting that we'll be having questions from the platform as we go along. What we're trying to do in the Nigerian Leadership Series is to come together, think, to judge, to get ourselves engaged, to get ourselves involved, to see how we can truly make Nigeria a better place for every single Nigerian of every color and diversity, and to see how we can forge a great leadership platform, a great leadership for ahead, and how we can make sure that everybody stops being a spectator but gets involved in this Nigerian project, and also how we can learn and understand the background of Nigeria, the challenges of Nigeria, the options available, and how we can help to solve some of these problems, and maybe even advocate to government, whichever government is in power, as to the thoughts of the citizens and what we would like government to do, and even see how we can work with government to forge a great partnership. Bashir, you are most welcome, and I thank you for accepting to be part of this forum. We're going to be going live on Instagram if we're not already there, but I know that everybody on the platform is here and they're ready to hear from you at this time. So Bashir, give us a little bit of a background as to Nigeria, your knowledge of Nigeria, your early recollections of Nigeria when you were growing up and what your thinking, your thoughts, your vision, your dream was, even as a young child, for this great entity called Nigeria. One of my refrains is that Nigeria is the greatest country on earth and Nigeria can truly be great again. So, Bashir, you are most welcome, and I'll yield the floor to you. I think we've lost Bashir there for a few minutes. We're just going to try and reconnect with him and get him back on the platform. I have used this opportunity to try and engage as many people as possible. And I get different kinds of opinion, but largely the sensitivity and the opinions I get from a lot of people, especially those of my generation. And we're also going to be trying on this platform to talk to a lot of people of the younger generation who constitute about 65 to 70% of our population to hear their thoughts and their opinion. But a lot of people of my generation are beginning to despair. They're beginning to think that perhaps there's no hope. They're beginning to think that we're getting to a precipice where Nigeria seems almost irredeemable. They're beginning to think that the concentration of power in few hands and certain hands is not auguring well for this country. The last gentleman that I had, a great friend of mine also, Dr. Anyagbelu, was a little bit anxious and concerned that 40, 45 years after the Civil War, there's been no real talk of deep and sincere reparations, restoration, reuniting of Nigeria, that the scars of that war, about 50 years now, the scars of that war are deep and sincere, and we've just moved on without actually addressing those issues. And those issues need to be addressed. Also, the issue of the 2014 Constitution, which was instigated by Goodluck Jonathan. A lot of work was done, he was involved, and nothing has come out of it. And the issue that we really need constitutional reforms in Nigeria, if not for anything, to unlock the economic potential that Nigeria has. I think one of the challenges that we're having, especially with our leadership, even with Goodluck at that time, was that they look at the constitutional issue more from a political perspective. And everybody is a little bit frightened to go into the politics of it. But the politics aside, the economics of the Constitution is also very, very significant, especially these things that they have on the, what they call essential, or what do they call that list that federal government controls, which makes it almost impossible for us to harness some of our resources. The federal government is not willing or interested, or maybe doesn't have the capacity to develop these resources. The states are not encouraged to do so, and private individuals don't have the authority to do so. So we have a lot of resource that's just lying in the ground, wasting in Nigeria. It's totally unacceptable and unbelievable. So the federal government needs to do something about it and ensure that we can create an environment where we can develop our resource. There's also the issue of regional development. Let every region, every state develop at their own pace and control as best as they can their own destiny and their own economy, and then we have a supervising federal government. There's also the issue of our constant dependency on raw materials as our method of earning. I say, and somebody repeated to me today, just today at a function that I was, that Nigeria is the only country in the world where you plant yam. Listen to me. You plant yam in your backyard, and then you send the yam to London, and somebody pounds the yam for you and sends the yam back to you, maybe with some efo soup. That's what we do in Nigeria. We plant yam in our backyards. We don't take the trouble to pound the yam. We send it to abroad to pound and then bring it back to eat as pounded yam. That's what we're doing with our oil. We have oil in our backyards. We don't refine oil. And until Dangote comes on stream, we may not be able to refine oil in Nigeria. We send the oil all the way to Europe, to Brazil, to America, and then we buy petrol. I mean, who does that? Who does that? We do the same with cocoa. Not one chocolate making factory in Nigeria, maybe aside from Cadbury, maybe aside from some small factories here and there, but there's no significant chocolate making factory in Africa. And then Switzerland, that doesn't grow any cocoa, becomes the chocolate capital of the world. It's so preposterous and ironic. We do the same with iron. We do the same with diamonds, at least in Africa. No diamond factories in Africa. The diamond factories are in New York, they're in England, they're in even Israel. You know, we keep depending on raw materials, which have very little value, without adding value to these raw materials. No steel industry in Nigeria, yet we have iron ore in abundance in Jos and places like that. Okay, spoke about the coal, the pure, fresh, smokeless coal that we have in the belt between Enugu, Kogi, and almost to Nasarawa State. Yet in Nigeria, there's no significant thing that we're doing with coal, and the coal that we have is in great demand. Same thing with our bitumen. Bitumen, which is in Ondo, Ogun State, surface bitumen, easy to extract out of the ground, yet no bitumen industry in Nigeria. Same thing even with gas, although we're struggling with that right now. I don't understand how for many years Nigeria was flaring gas when the whole world was looking for gas. These are the things that have been a challenge for us in Nigeria, and why we need to speak to ourselves. We're not our own enemies. We shouldn't be competing amongst ourselves. We should face a common enemy, and that is still the colonial and imperialist. I was in Benin last week with Governor Obaseki at the Alagodaro Summit, and they were using culture as a basis of economic development. They went around searching for all the artifacts from Benin, artifacts that were created in Benin in the 17th, 18th century, stolen from the palace of the Oba of Benin in 1897 and taken away forcefully by the British soldiers to end up in the British Museum. Things that belong to Nigeria. They stole them and they kept them in the museum, and they're now saying that they cannot repatriate them. And yet these same people turn around and call us thieves, they call us corrupt people, they call us incompetent people, and they came to Africa and plagiarized and pauperized and stole all our resources, including our people, took them to sugarcane farms in Barbados, in Jamaica, in the Americas, in Brazil, all over the place, and now turn around and say we should devalue our currency, we should restructure our economy, and so on and so forth. These are things we need to look at seriously and address. The King of Belgium, King Leopold, in also 18-something, killed 15 million Congolese, 15 million Congolese, and nothing happened. Nothing happened. And we're continuing life as though that's how life should be. We need to look at these issues very, very critically and speak to ourselves, unite together, and face common enemies instead of combining with them to destroy our own economy. And that's my 2 pence right now as we welcome my good friend, Dr. Bashir Gwandu, on this platform. Bashir, I'm sorry about the technology. Please unmute yourself. And I wanted you to tell us about when growing up as a young Nigerian, what were your thoughts? What were your dreams? Where did you see Nigeria? And what kind of Nigeria did you grow up in? And just for the benefit of our audience. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Itua Ogodalo, my very good friend, and good afternoon.
Can you speak up a little bit, Bashir, so that we can
hello, can everybody hear me now? Can everybody hear me? No?
Okay, let's do this.
Can everybody hear me?
If you can hear, can you wave?
Yes,
Wave
I
if
can.
you can hear.
Yeah, we
All
can
right.
hear.
Okay,
Excellent.
great.
Very good.
What I had to do was to disconnect one of the headphones so that maybe the speaker can pick it up better. First, my sincere apologies for the technical hitches we've encountered earlier on in trying to get the two systems working together. That is my first comment on this, and I want to thank everybody for patience and for understanding of this shortcoming on my side, rather. It's really my technical machines that just suddenly shut down, and I had to reboot. So I'm so sorry about that. Well, on the topic, first let me say here that my life must have been rather than somebody known to be speaking on political matters strongly. But this is a topic for Nigerians across the world to discuss in this day and age, and it will be okay for me, I guess, to put my views across. First, Etua asked me earlier that what was my where we came from basically, and where we should be going and where we are going, and how the direction as to which we are going. Well, I grew up in Sokoto, and Gwandu in particular, and I grew up in a very really peaceful and harmonious community in my village in Gwandu, and I think it's still relatively peaceful compared to many places, even though the insecurity is still is encroaching as I'm president and so on. This is not really what has been the case in the past. Sokoto, when we were growing up, it used to be really nice, colorful flowers all over, very green, water, very clean, just like what you see in cities in Europe these days. Really clean place at that time. And schools were really very good. We didn't have, I don't think there was any private school I could remember at the time working. So most schools are public schools, very good schools. And we had teachers from all over the world teaching at the time. And the quality of education was very good. If you had to get the same quality of education today, you would have to pay heavily to get anything close to what we used to get in those days. So now on issue of, for example, input to the economy, the real growth. Thinking about agricultural input, for example, people are very busy with their farms, minding their business. I mean, at the time, there's a lot of production, I think, certainly more production than in the recent past. Although Kebbi State, which is now the new state where we are, is known to be growing a lot of rice. So there has been a resurgence in that area. Now, as a country, that's Nigeria as a whole. Like I said, being a technical person, I've always invested to grow as really fast at the time. I'm always thinking about developing new technology, new ideas. That has been me. I mean, I think right from secondary school, my university days at the time, my focus has always been to develop something new, and I have done so at that time. Unfortunately, we didn't have the right kind of atmosphere or encouragement to continue to pursue that, to develop it in the way they are developing things in Europe. But again, like I said, the quality of education at the time was really good. So even at the university level, I was able to produce things that I only read from books, never seen physically. I mean, they still work. They work very well. Electronic things that I'm an electronic engineer. So things were really, the quality of education was good. Politics-wise, of course, there was a lot of, I mean, in the 70s, politics, I mean, up to the 80s, there was a lot of politics in my area. I remember I was agent for NPN in 1979, a very young agent at the time. So there was a lot of politics, but then a lot has happened between that time and now. So there's lots of debate going from that time to now, which we're still, unfortunately, we're still hooking onto that same old debate at that time, which is to do with still how to live together as a people, how to make our country stable and better, how to prosper. I mean, this is from 70s to now. If you look at the same period, Dubai, for example, or rather United Arab Emirates generally, looking from that period to now, has changed so fast that we're no longer in the same race, if you like. Even though at that time they were really even less developed than we are. But now look what has happened there. No, so the issue of one, having the right vision, two, actualizing the vision, three, having the determination and the focus to achieve such a vision. We have spent so much time talking about the things that I feel like even our parents have been talking about, issues of, today we're talking about restructuring the country, rewriting the constitution. How many constitutions have been written from that time, from the 70s till now, let's say from 76 to now? I mean, constitutional conferences, every now and then people come for conferences and so on to discuss. I think the issue is focusing on really the things that matter for growth of the country. What brings us together rather than what divides us. We have, I mean, I was fortunate to be involved in a number of activities that are taking place around the world, right from Africa, or rather from Nigeria first, and then West Africa, then Africa, and Commonwealth, and the whole government of the United Nations. I mean, I've been involved in many activities, and I mean, people at that level don't think about minor difference. They think about what brings people together to forge ahead as a nation. Nigeria commands a lot of respect. In a number of international activities because of our unity, because of the way we work together, because of our size and the synergy that we are harnessing to work as a people. Now, I am sure the convener of this program, Pastor, brought me into this discussion because of probably my comment at the first program where there was some debate about restructuring. People coming saying that, oh, I mean, we need to, if you like, restructure with badass, all sorts of comments that are looking way backward. I think I commented on a different, well, from different perspective at the time. I suppose probably that's informs his choice of me to discuss this topic. I'm grateful for him to have given me the chance to further air my views on what I think. Now, principally, I think my own view is that Nigerians need to focus on the future of what makes a country grow, rather than how we share power or how we share, if you like, how we share cake. Really, the issue of everybody contributing to make the cake even bigger is probably what should be the focus. I, for one, I mean, when I was teaching in the university, well, at that time, frankly speaking, I paid attention to the vice chancellor was at the time. You know, I just focus on the work. And I think even as, I mean, in my work at the NCC, before people attempted to get me out of the place, I've never been, I think I went to the villa only at the time I felt threatened. You know, I have at the ministry, except if I go for meetings of Council on Frequency Management, that is NFMC. I just focus on the work. So the issue is, if everybody focus on the work, and everybody given some space to do that work and give his best, I think a lot can change for the country. And I'm sure we have, given the time of God, we have changed a lot, at least in the telecommunication space, which I've been very much part of. There are so many things we have done within a short space of time. So I think if we focus on who can deliver best for the country, I think we are likely to progress more than who is it my own person that is there or somebody's person that is there. When you hear this kind of thing, it's really, in my own opinion, it's more of issues of inefficiency that is in the system, which we probably need to work on to fix. But for as long as we can get the right kind of leadership, it doesn't matter where the person comes from. You know, that's my view. It doesn't matter. If you get the right person, and frankly speaking, for me, from my experience, I had support, frankly speaking, from across the country. I probably had more from other parts of the country than where I came from, you know? So, I mean, this country can work for all of us if we are ready to work together and looking at making the system more efficient, recognizing contribution, recognizing competence, recognizing the fact that everybody has the right to the same country, to the same cake, if you like, or everybody need to work together to make the cake bigger. I think that is probably the focus that we should be developing, not what divides us. I think our parents, if you like, or our generation have been debating about what has been dividing us. Why don't we, for once, start focusing on what brings us together to form a strong nation that can continue to deliver goods or better society and a better economy, better education, better health services for the populace. That is my first take on this, Pastor Godalo. So, I mean, I think most of the discussions, my understanding will be centered around this. Now, somebody mentioned about exclusive list in the Constitution and so on. I mean, yes, there are in every situation there are improvements. I mean, when people talk about federalism, there are so many countries with different mix and, if you like, I mean, different approach to federalism. We have so many countries that have federalism. The whole idea is to have sharing of power between the center and the other municipalities, if you like. Now, there are different countries at different models. Some it works, but every country has its own peculiarities. You can just take from, say, Brazil and dump into Nigeria, or from India and dump into Nigeria, or from the United States and dump in and say it will work smoothly. No, every country has its own peculiarities. We need to look at peculiarities and see what system best suits us. But for me, the most important thing is getting the right kind of leadership, getting the right persons, wherever they come from, to be in the right position to lead us to next level, if you like. When I say next level, I don't mean our own next level APC, but better society, better governance, better security, better economy, better education, better health services, and so on. Now, coming to the issue of all these differences that we're having a lot of differences for two main reasons, in my opinion, two main reasons really. Poverty and lack of education. Issues of poverty and lack of education. Once we have these two ingredients, generally people are likely to think better, make better decisions. There's no poverty, people are likely to think properly without looking at where the next meal is coming from. When there's education, you can even be able to tolerate some poverty if you are educated. Say, no, I will tolerate it because I'm expecting something better. So, so these two, once we educate our people, even the political leadership that we're going to get, the educated people are likely to be patient enough to select the right kind of leadership, no matter the challenges, no matter the hardship, and stand by that right kind of leadership, and are not likely to be deceived into sentimental decisions. So education is one ingredient that is necessary. Second is, as much as possible, independence. When I say independence, this is now poverty, less poverty. Once you don't have poverty, you're not, then you have some degree of independence to make an independent judgment and independent decision without being swayed into or influenced by like small amounts of money when it comes to electing the right kind of leadership. So once you are able to solve this, I think we'll be talking about, if you like, artificial intelligence. I mean, our mind will be spared about thinking about our differences. We'll be thinking about how do I work to get this country better, how to get even my immediate society better, solve immediate problems, and look towards the future. So this is my first take on this, Professor Gudalo. I don't know whether I will come back to any other issue I've raised or any other issue that can be raised through the course of the discussion.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gwandu, and very well spoken. I like the clarity of your vision, of your thoughts and what you think. But I have a few fundamental questions to ask you. Number one, why, in your opinion, do you think Nigerians as a whole have focused more on the sharing of the cake rather than coming together to build a stronger and a bigger cake? Why is it that we've not been able to create an atmosphere where all the resources of Nigeria can easily be developed? I hear there's about another 31 or 32 other resource, even much more profitable than oil. But I don't think any one of them is really being sincerely looked at. Even our agriculture is almost still at its infancy, 60 years after independence. And you did make a very good allusion to Dubai, which 40 years ago, the UAE was almost like a desert land. And in 40 years, they've caught up with places like Singapore, places like New York, that is even a preferred destination. It's almost like a hub for anywhere you want to go in the world today. So why have Nigerians, 60 years or even pre-independence, focused more on ethnicity, power sharing and rotation between regions? Today must go to the north, tomorrow is the south, Thursday is the southeast. Southeasterners are very angry for the past 40, 50 years. They've not come near the presidency. Maybe one or two of them have been VP here and there, but none of them, it's almost don't even think about it, and so on and so forth. Why is that so? That's my first question. And the second question is this: what process, in your opinion, do you think Nigerians practically, even those on this platform and the Nigerians that you know, that you can personally influence around you, around us, what process can we go through to ensure that we actually get the best people to lead us? One of the challenges of Nigeria, I must be sincere with you, is that we don't seem at any stage and time to have really gotten the very best. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore was a first-class brain, I think, Oxford or Cambridge graduate who went back to the southern part of Malaysia, carved out Singapore, and turned it into almost a paradise, first world. Sheikh Maktoum of the UAE says the job of a leader is to make his people happy. I've never had any president of Nigeria talk like that. He says, I'm spending my time, my energy to make my people happy. He says, we don't have an impossible. He says, the UAE, where all things are possible. He says, I drive around the town and the city every day, every night, inspecting projects, looking at things, thinking of better things to do, how to make my nation better. We thought of a train to deliver to the people. We said we'll deliver it in 3.5 years. He said, we did it in 3 years. He says, that's the stuff of which we are made. Why is it that, what process do we need to go through to ensure that we get the best of competence in our leadership? Please answer those two questions. Thank you.
Well, first, you have really mentioned two key well, your questions are on two key areas really, is why we have focused more on sharing the cake, and how do we, if you like, produce the right crop of people that will eventually become our leaders. Now, on the sharing of the cake that we have been talking about, I think this issue of really more of corruption and, if you like, lack of accountability, transparency issues that are missing. If there's transparency and that's clear accountable, whoever is there is held accountable to that position, then surely, even if you are in the position, you can't, if once there's transparency, you can't do special favors to your people, whoever you decide to call your people. Because ideally, once you are in a position of government or leadership, you are everybody's person. You're not supposed to be a leader for a group of people. Yes, you might have come as a representative of a particular side, but at the end, once you are in that position, you are supposed to be serving, or you are supposed to be a balanced leader that actually take everybody to be his own and treat everybody fairly, and now deal with the issue of who performs better, who makes the place better, who try to help you succeed as a leader. Now, because of that inefficiency that's buried in the leadership, where there are special favors, because these special favors, frankly speaking, what continues to bring this discussion. If there's no special favor from, if somebody coming from, say, north or south, or even from the east, you really don't care who becomes a leader. Once that is fairness, you know, what you try to do, for example, in Dubai, I happened to be sitting in one restaurant at one time, and the leader like you just mentioned, he stepped in, he was sitting actually right behind me. I didn't realize he was sitting there. So he interacts, he goes around to know what is happening in his society, to know firsthand what decision you need to take to make the place better. You know, but if you depend on psychopaths to be telling you what to do, or what is there or what is not, as a leader, then you have a problem. So, and like I said, fairness. Once you treat everybody fairly, and frankly speaking, it is something that we need to address seriously, rather than giving it, if like, lip service. If you see people talking about somebody, I give example of, myself. I made a lot of progress, in my life, really not necessarily by being promoted by somebody from my own area. I have a lot of support from around the country. Surely, most of the key things I have done is support from all over the country. So really, and for that reason, if everybody treats you like that, you now think everybody's mine. Get the best. Who can deliver the best for that job or for the country? And you are likely to be. But also in that same situation, also have some balance, create some balance. Because in those days when we probably there's lopsidedness in education, you can now be able to say, you can say that some region will be if you give only to competence, then some regions or some sections of the country might be disadvantaged because they may not be participating. But after how many years of independence now? 60?
60. So
60 years. I think we have passed, we're getting to a stage where every region, every nook and cranny of the country can produce competent hands. So this is a time now to start focus on using competent hands to do the right kind of job. And once that has happened, and there has to be checks and balances. That's why I mentioned earlier issues of transparency and accountability. Once people are transparent, whatever you do is transparent. Governance is transparent. Decisions that are taken are transparent. If you like, put them on the website, any decision. Even minutes of data sometimes, there are some that, I mean, for as long as they don't put government into disadvantage or someone losing, someone taking clear advantage of it, and some of this can be made transparent. Once there is transparency, then obviously corruption will reduce. If you like, favoritism will reduce, and the people will now focus more on what they can do by themselves rather than where they come from. Because most of those talking about this cake, they're not focusing on what they can, what are they doing as a person or as a citizen. What is my contribution as a citizen? Why do you have to depend on what comes under the ground? Why don't you think of what you as a person is contributing rather than benefiting because just you come from a particular location where something is buried under the ground or on top of the ground, you know? So if you're focusing on what you as a person contributes, right? What you contribute and benefit from what you contribute, like what is done in other countries around the world. I mean, I've lived in Europe for close to, for over a decade. I mean, close to 2 decades. So I have seen people coming from all over the world competing. They don't care what is on the ground. They care about what they're able to do, what they're able to achieve, you know? So if, like in England, if just because you come from Scotland, you can say, no, I have to have this oil or that or that. No, what are you as a person able to contribute is what you should be focusing on. And once you do that, at least this issue of cake, wherever it comes from, it doesn't matter. The cake is shared according to certain rules we decide for ourselves, you know, and all parts of the country need to be developed. We need to look at what we can make efficient from different segments of the country, you know, what we can promote for a better country as a whole. You know, it might be more efficient to promote one item from one section and another from another. I mean, for example, we have the case of rice from Kebbi, maybe another state produce, for Ekiti State, they have gold. There are other states that have so many things around that you can promote. But these things are not supposed to be because you are from that place that you must get a disproportionate share. No, you should get what you are able to contribute as a person. So it doesn't matter how the size of the cake, that cake is only, you only get share of that cake by your own effort, not by what God has buried under the ground. Second issue is issue of getting the right crop of leadership. I think we can start somewhere by this kind of funnel that you created, really, because this has helped to discuss and clear the air in on so many issues, to educate those behind, if you like, just following us as to what they should be thinking of. What are the mistakes others have done or those before them have done that they can avoid? I mean, I was listening to TV today, this NSAS discussion on Channels TV. Somebody was saying, oh, our parents have tried to change things, they have demonstrated and they're not able to achieve, they've been shut down and they were not able to, we are not going to be shut down, we are going to change this. No, the issue is not focusing on what your parents are able to try or what have not been able to, what have been able to achieve, what they haven't been able to achieve. No, it's what make the country really better. Just because your parents say tomorrow they want national conference or space of national conference, then you say, oh no, I must get national conference because they failed to get it. So what end is what you should be asking if you get that? Why? Because your parent just did, they must do it. No. The parent may necessarily be thinking, the circumstances might have changed or the situation might be different. Today, I am here in this forum because I have a friend, Godalo, that invited me because he knows me and he didn't care where I come from. He just invited me as somebody he thinks he can make contribution. Now, it doesn't matter. Our children are more united than we were because they have interacted more than we were interacting before. So situation is dynamic, it's continually changing. The country is more and more united than it used to be. You know, there are barriers broken. You have more friends probably from another part of the country than even from your own part of the country. Things are happening this way. And once you have friends, the issue is now issue of trust. You might be trusting somebody from another part of the country because your friend is somebody you understand very well. So it doesn't matter if you are given a chance to select who. You may not even necessarily select somebody from your own party. You must select somebody from another party because it's somebody you know, somebody you trust. But as long as this inefficiency is still buried in us, that is to say, there's no transparency, there's favoritism, there's corruption, all these things are likely to thrive. This will continue. That's why we continue to focus on the cake, how to divide the cake. We're not talking about how to be more efficient, how to contribute more to make the cake bigger. Now, so focus on educating people, the leadership training. I think we can start from this kind of forum, debate issues dispassionately, objectively, bring it to the fore and discuss them and trash these issues without sentiment as much as possible. Maybe then we can make progress, because those countries where there is progress, say Singapore, of course there are smaller countries, or Dubai, there are smaller countries, but then the leaders are never thinking about you are from that emirate or from that emirate. They're thinking about the country as a whole. How do I make this country better? In Singapore, it doesn't matter whether you're Malay or you're Chinese, you are treated the same. Wherever you come from, it's what you make, how do you make the country better is the focus, and how do we get the right kind of people without looking at sentiment to lead in every sector. I think it's important we start looking at that process rather than saying, oh, this is my own, oh, that is my own, that is my tribe, that's not my tribe. This is what is dragging the country backward, saying, oh, we need to look at ethnic nationalities. These things have been talked about 50 years ago, and we're still talking about ethnic nationalities today. Look at what's happening in Ethiopia. They have ethnic nationalities that are still at war between ethnic groups, Oromo and Tigray and so on. People have moved on from there. We're going to have to start thinking about what we can do as a people to make the country better, to make services more efficient, to make health sector more efficient, to make education more efficient, to be thinking about space science, to be thinking about high tech, artificial intelligence, automated driving, all these kind of high tech things that are not sensitive to where you are, who you are, where you come from. These are things we should be thinking of, how to make things better, but not always how to share. How do I get this more advantage than other in the same country? No. This is my take on these two points. I hope I've addressed them well.
Thank you very much, Bashir. Thank you very much. Yemisi, I'm sure you're on Instagram. I'm going to try and focus on Instagram people this time. A gentleman called Terry Maxwell has said we should look at the Constitution first, because Instagram people think that I don't give them enough attention. I apologize. It's sometimes because Instagram is not as clear and not as steady, but this one is quite steady. So if you do have your questions on Instagram, please let's have them very quickly so that we can throw them on the floor. Dr. Gwandu, you have said some very, very cogent things. Number one, we should be focusing more on what we can contribute rather than what is under the ground. Or whether it's under our feet, wherever we come from, we should look at what we can contribute. Number two, we should be thinking more about getting competent people in the right place rather than where people come from and so on and so forth. But then I like to know that people are both geography and also intellect. And you must use your intellect to see how you can develop what is under your feet, because that has come as a gift from the Almighty, and also what you can grow above you has come as a gift from the Almighty. But you need to be able to add that value. So I think that both go hand in hand. We talk of Nigerian oil because it is on Nigerian shores and on Nigerian waterways. That's why a Ghanaian cannot come here and say that this is his own oil simply because it's on the African continent. And it's a similar thing for all the resource. The resource, unfortunately or fortunately, has been located in a particular place. So I think we should be thinking of the right methods that will encourage the people, wherever they are and whoever they are, to bring out this resource with their intellect so that everybody can benefit from it and have it equitably shared in such a way that there can be growth. The second challenge that I have is that 60 years after independence, we have almost 14 million children out of school. A lot of them, unfortunately, seem to come from the northern part of Nigeria and so on and so forth. I don't have the exact statistics, but somebody was saying there was really not a few bunch of statistics and so on and so forth. And you mentioned that education is a very, very important criteria to sorting out the issues of Nigeria. Why, in your opinion, do you think that 60 years after independence, every single Nigerian child is not in school, no matter what kind of a school it should be, and value-adding school? You know, you are here sitting here today because somehow your parents or your guard or your guardian and you yourself invested so much in your education. You have 5 degrees, including an MBA, and that's why you have a voice. But I'm sure that on various streets of Nigeria, many, many people are there who never had an opportunity for education. There are some that did and didn't take it, but quite a few have not been encouraged to get good education. Why is that so? Why did we neglect our education so much in Nigeria?
Thank you, Professor Godala, again. I think, like I said in my intervention, when we were growing up, people were encouraged to go to school. I mean, at least from where I come from. I'm not going to, I mean, at that time, I would not know what is happening in other parts, but at least from the part I came from. Almost every child, we used to have some penalty, actually, for children that are not actually enrolled in school. The schools also were attractive at that time because you get to have time to play with other kids. You get to have, and in time you even have, I mean, when we get to secondary school, we have good food in the school, if you like, things you probably, so many people will not get in their homes, actually. Schools were given really good, I mean, it makes it quite attractive for children to want to go into that. And that is what probably is missing now. The money, or rather the funds that are supposed to have been channeled to education, to support education. Now, clearly, because of lack of transparency and accountability, is used in other sectors. And how are these things happening is because of this issue of sharing of cake, if you like. Even in your state, the new states, many states have been created. But even in the state, or even in the local government, they'll say, oh, my ward hasn't got this. Oh, my ward hasn't. You know? So, my local government hasn't got it. Oh, my state. I mean, everyone states were created from the same communities, from the same states. Like, for example, Sokoto State was divided into a number of states from when we were in primary school. There was a dispute between different states on asset sharing. And even schools, you go to, because you happen to stay in where you have been, I don't know what happened, but where you have been living, then what tends to happen is that some may not even get education in that state because they happen to be now belong to new state, or they have to be charged separately for this. Now, these are some of the areas that we probably address. We need to channel a lot of our resources in making sure that we have the right kind of policies, right investment in education. Penalties were necessary because I should be, you don't just making policy, no, you make the policy stick, implement it, charge those parents that are not able to send their children to school. That's some penalty. Also, make the school attractive. Not just say you just go to school. I mean, we have cases of schools where they don't even have roof. I've seen my state where schools, children are still on mats and so on. I mean, these things, I mean, it's so pathetic when you see some of the things that are happening now. And you see, I mean, local government money being shared. I mean, state will send money to local government, and then because the state controls the local government, they will, if you like, say, you sign it, and then they'll take the money back and share among the politicians. I mean, this sort of thing, when this kind of money should have gone to schools, is what is pushing the country backward. And for as long as education is neglected, it will take much longer time to make the right kind of progress. Because like I said to you earlier, if there is no education, there is no independent thinking. If there is no education, you can't produce, you can't innovate. If there's no innovation, there is no much growth. All those resources are saying you cannot make them more efficient. We'll still be producing cotton or producing cocoa or producing gun or producing all even the rice without necessarily harnessing the clear benefits of all these raw materials we're producing. It's because of education. So really we need to have right kind of policy, focusing more on education. How do we fund education? How do we make it compulsory for parents to send children? I mean, look, go to England, even as advanced as they are today, once your child don't go to school at the school age, they will come asking questions. They'll knock your door. Even as advanced as they are, they'll ask you questions. Why is this so bad? Which school is he attending? You have to send the details of the school your child is attending. Even if it's abroad, you have to tell the council where that child is. So the system needs to have these checks and balances where it is ensured that the children are properly educated. Because for longer, if they're not educated and they are deprived, we'll continue to have social problems that we're experiencing, issues of kidnapping, issues of armed robbery, we'll continue to experience these problems across the country, I mean, until people see that they have something at stake. Because once you are educated, then you will be able to create something for yourself, and therefore you have something at stake in the system. You go and see what's happening on these riots. That if you see somebody rioting, it means he has nothing that somebody is going to ban. So if you have something that people will go about, you'll be calm and you say, okay, hey, let's find peace. Let's find a way to work together. So if you're educated, then there's an opportunity for you, and there's something at stake for you, and you can do something better. But if you don't have something at stake, that's when you can say, okay, let's go. Let's everybody be scattered. You know. So it's important that once we have right policy, I think education policy should be one of the key output from this discussion, where we have right policy to make it compulsory for parents and for governments. When I say governments, I mean local government and second, to make sure that all children in their are in schools, and not only in schools, but that the teachers, you get the right kind of teachers. I mean, I can remember in those days, good, I mean, those that actually did do very well are those that go to teachers secondary schools. You know, so we're going to have the right kind of quality by investing in that. And that is what I believe Singapore did. That's what Dubai is doing. I mean, I can tell you from my own side of things and in telecoms. Some years back, I mean, when we started working at ITU, 2006, Africa wasn't having much representation. When I went there, I said, look, we can't leave things the way they are. We must have a voice. I started putting people together, and we started having Africa Union meeting that we were not having before. Now, Africa Union completely has changed. When we have Africa Union, now people are coming. But before, when we speak, everybody said, no, we're like children. The teachers like nothing. But not anymore. We have changed it over the course of 3 conferences, 3 major conferences. Now I could tell you 4. Now, also, I'm trying to get to Dubai. When we started, they come into the meeting working with us because they actually work together. And they are learning a lot from us. Now, a lot of them are more trained than our own team because they invested in it. There are people that are coming to train them. They invested in that training. So when you have the right kind of leadership that value this education, but they will invest in it, and the government can now take action from federal right down to state to make it feel like in state of emergency on education. Honestly, when you do educate people, a lot of good things will come out of it, because even democracy will be better, because you have thinkers that will now make the right kind of choice for the leadership. So I think it's an issue of policy. Going back to your question as to what we should do, why we are getting what we are getting, I think we didn't have the right policies. People have taken advantage of what was invested before by others before us. We benefited from it, but we didn't do what we are supposed to do as current leadership. So I think it's something we started. It's not too late. We can still do it. It's still doable. Now in the North, it is possible. It is possible to do, but you need to also, in fact, we can even have NGOs that can continue to venture into this work and encourage those encouraging education. Have some competition between states, and create some incentive for governments to make education their priority. That's what I would suggest in this context. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you very much, Bashir. I'm very grateful. Please, if you have any questions, begin to put them together, because I'm going to ask another one or two sets of questions and then want to throw the floor open so that it can be interactive and participatory as much as possible. Dr. Gwandu, in 1953 conference leading up to 1959, the so-called founding fathers of Nigeria, and therefore, three and then maybe four significant ones, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the Saudana of Sokoto, Samadu Abubakar, and Sir Amadu Bello, and of course, Chief Obafemi Awolowo representing the Western region. And then in between them, they had Sir Tafawa Balewa. They all agreed to what they call federalism, some kind of federal state, and that is the constitution on which Nigeria was founded. That is the agreement that the Nigerian people came forward with, 1958, 1959 constitutional conferences in London. That is what the British bequeathed to us. But now we still call ourselves the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But a lot of people are saying we really do not see the federalism, and it's more like a unitary sort of system. And that is really bogging down, slowing down, and making it impossible for us to be happy together and also to develop together. I'd like to ask your opinion on this and what your own thoughts are on federalism and what you think, what kind of national ethos or national or federal or national working together should be. A lot of people are saying that the constitution that we're participating now, the 1999 constitution, that it wasn't a participatory constitution. It was just put together by the military leader at the time and presented to us that this is the constitution of Nigeria. That a constitution is something that people come from the different units, sit together and discuss and agree, not something that some people just throw out and say this is what it is. So I just want your personal opinion on this and so on and so forth. Even though you say you're a technical person, I know that we met first on a political platform, if you remember very well. I'm not going to tell them where we met, but we met in a deeply political situation, even though I'm a pastor. I went there to pray. You went there to play politics.
Yes. Anyway, now, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, I happen to be deeply involved in the discourse of APC. In fact, this issue of restructuring came off, but really it wasn't in the economic team which I was part of. And I was in part of many committees, practically everything APC I was part of it.
So did you hear that practically everything APC he was part of it? So
yes,
you shouldn't tell us he's just a technical person.
Yes, no, I was. Yes, because why I had to go I mean, I couldn't, before we used to play politics behind the scene, but I mean, we had really bad governance at the time. And I mean, when in a country you are trying to protect government losing, I mean, close to $1 billion, and you're shouting, and then people just what they could how to do what they want to do, they just did it. And then you have no choice but to go and get into where you can change the situation. You know, and that's exactly what I'm trying to say here. We can develop leadership. If you're forced to go into something, you will have no choice but to do it. I couldn't, I mean, a few years back, I wouldn't think I would come right deep into politics as it was. But the situation warranted that, and we had to go in and change the situation. So the issue of restructuring that was discussed at the APC, I mean, we didn't really have concrete position. Of course, some people tried to smuggle some things inside, but the real debate that we were part of, that we in fact, we shared that discussion at some point. I mean, in our committee, where, of course, Pioneer was leading the discussion. We have a strategy committee, and also we have a committee that was discussing. RFI was part of it, and many other people were part of the committee. Now, you have raised the issue of 1953 to 1959. Our forefathers have done this or that when it comes to discussing federalism. Now, as I said in my opening statement, federalism exists in many ways, in many flavors. Brazil has its own flavor, US has its own flavor, India has its own flavor. I mean, many countries have their own flavor of federalism. The issue is sharing of the power, if you like, between, if you have federalism, you're sharing power between probably central government and, if you like, other governments that are subsidiary to the central government, if you like. Well, you can have confederates, of course, where this, if you like, the units of the government are even more powerful.
Then we'll intensify our efforts and make it happen that place of God.
So I think we need to, okay.
So that's what I was really talking about. So
can somebody please
can
mute your mic?
Can you mute that?
Please mute your mic.
Excellent. Now, so the issue of what I mean, things have changed from 1950s because I mean most of us are not active in those days. I mean, most of the people attending this forum were not active in those days. There were circumstances that warrant those decisions of that time. Like I said, issue of education. I mean, for the little I have read in history, Sardauna was heavily concerned at the time about, if you like, leapfrogging from very low level education where his people can compete. Whereas in the Southwest, because of the issue of religion, and also Southeast, because of religion, there is not much barrier to education or accepting of Western education. So there's a lot of growth in the education sector in those areas. So if everything was shared at that time, or you go only through competence in terms of Western education, because there was another education we had at the time, or people from the North had at the time, but it's not what is used to determine what position people should be. But we're using Western education, and unfortunately, because of the way Western education was not accepted in the North generally, so that's a disadvantage at that time. So if everybody comes together at that time, perhaps some regions might be disadvantaged at the time. But not when it comes to output. I mean, there was a lot of output from agriculture at that time, from all parts of the country, but in particular from the North, they were producing a lot. I mean, people were not really, if you like, treating government resources as we're treating the government resources today. You know, there is much less corruption than we have today. There's much more transparency than we have today. There's much more accountability than we have today. So it was working. It worked. And the federalism like I said, in the context of which they were using it before the 1960 Constitution, worked under those circumstances, it worked very well to serve the communities or to serve different regions at the time. Don't forget, this thing was changed it started changing from 1967. And it wasn't changed by a particular, by say, people from the north. It was changed by military and mainly from other parts of the country. And then comes further changes when Gwandu took over, when states were created, and the military worked together from all parts of the country later. So, but then what I'm trying to say here is that this thing was not the unitary arrangement or the unification of or changing of the structure of governance was not really done by the North Party. It was done by even Southerners at that time. So, but you see, whatever the circumstances, we're not trying to put blame here. It's not an issue, but it's an issue of the circumstances of time. At that time, you can probably argue that, yes, at that time it was serving the communities probably well. Some were ready, some were not. Some were ready educated, some were not. Today, those barriers or those gaps have been reasonably closed. There is level of education in every community. You find somebody who is competent enough to participate in governance. In every community. Therefore, you can have good, competent hands that you can pick to create that balance that you want to create. Now, the federal structure, like I said, there are different flavors. That we still have federal structure, by them, because power is still shared. States have enormous power today. In fact, they've been taking more power from the local government than they were taking before. So, and there is still federalism, but the whole true federalism, there's no such thing, in my opinion, as true federalism, because every federalism has its own flavors. People were hanging on to those who want to take advantage of others in the 80s or in the 90s, that want to take advantage of others and say they only want this or want conference and want this. I mean, we need to move from that. We need to move and see what you as a person can contribute, not what you will take advantage of because you're in position to payroll some people. No, it doesn't matter who is there if we get the right kind of leadership. We need to grow as a country to say we need so person who will be fair to all, who will be just to all concerned and be our leader. And once that we're growing to that, all this noise will disappear in time. But serving federalism, I mean, it's still serving. I'm not saying that some have taken advantage of that. Because, for example, if you want to go, if I want to even be more specific, if you take, I think a lot of this noise recently is coming from Lagos people generally. I mean, because Lagos has been developed, investment has been made over decades, so it can survive. Many people say they didn't have that chance. So yes, they always say, oh, let's be separate so we can get all this advantage. We can continue to build on that advantage. No, that's not how things work. The country needs to build together. We need to go as a group and as a people, because the more we are working together, the stronger we are in the outside of, I mean, when we go outside of this country, and the stronger we are in negotiating terms of trade, the stronger we are in our security. So that's the way it is. But government has, all the states that are surviving, that are making this noise, they have one benefit or another. The thing they continue to benefit, or they can take advantage of that. Nobody stops any state from improving their education today, or be better industrially. Nobody is stopping anybody from doing that. It depends on who you select as leader, whether he has the right kind of capacity to build what you want him to build. How many of our leaders in the states are accountable? We have noises before of this resource control in the states that are saying, oh, we don't oil control and so on. Who is keeping any of those leaders in those states in check? Those states they have certain percent reservation, money given to them. Who is asking questions in those places? Who is ensuring accountability? How are we sure it's going to be any different from what it is even if you increase it? You know, these things are still hazy. I think it's an issue of some people because they're more educated or more clever than others. They want to use that sentiment to reach the heads of many of their populace to be able to say, oh no, this is what we want, because they think they can take advantage. Even if you do that, some people will still take advantage, even in that locality. I mean, like I gave the example, when we used to be Sokoto State, once they were split, we still have people that are not allowed to go to so you have to pay for school fees in that locality, even though you live all your life in that place. You know, once you have this, divisions will always emerge. Even in your own town, in my own town, there's half, one that is split between half of the town and another. We always have this kind of division. Once anybody sees that there's an advantage to make by that kind of division. I think what we need to promote is what unites. Look at what's happening in Rwanda. When the leader took over, he's draconian. And by the way, he's changing a lot of things positively. But there is today, everybody just Rwandese. You can't say you are this or that. He's trying to unite his people and focus on what matters, how they compete as a nation. Now here, everybody's saying that, how do I get advantage and capitalize on the advantage I've already had over the other and build on it to the advantage of the other? And that is not how to build a country. And I think that's what is happening here. A lot of the noise that is coming is because over time, federal government has invested, for example, in the case of Lagos, have invested heavily in Lagos in the past. So the infrastructure has been developed. If you take every one single piece of infrastructure and put it, say, in Ebonyi State, look at how will the state change. So every country, don't say because you have this advantage now, no, it's time to look at it and only leave me because I have grabbed what I can grab. So let me run with it and leave you behind. That's the way I see some of things. But if we focus on the main issues, what you as a person can contribute, you develop it. You can build it anywhere in the country. The Constitution allows you to go to any part of the country and develop. And there are people all across the country are going, investing across the country and still making money. Or at least making some progress. So if there's no such limits, I think there's just inefficiency and probably people that are sticking, holding on to the past, or trying to take advantage of the incoming political dispensation to say, oh, let's make a lot of noise, or to distract, or to make sure that we blackmail the others into compliance. Oh, they'll give us this because we want to use that to favor certain people. No, it shouldn't be that way. It should be that let the right kind of people be in the position of who we can trust. The issue of trust is very important, because if you don't have the person you can trust, maybe you come from your own village, if you cannot trust him, it's useless. Your own somebody from your village may be very unfair to you, but somebody from far away can be very fair to you. So what does it matter where the person comes from? The fairness and trust is important. And you can never have the kind of trust if you keep saying because you have an advantage, you want to run with that advantage and to others because you are now a suspect. You become suspicious and people will not trust you, will not relax and make sure that you become a leader. So what our past leaders have done, circumstances have significantly changed, not by our own making, but not by the making of this generation. It's by making of first generation, because you're not there when the coup of 1967 happened. You are not in the governance. So you didn't contribute. They didn't ask your opinion. They changed the situation by themselves. We found ourselves in it. Let's catch on what we found ourselves and make it better. That's the way I see things. Continue to go back. That's why Nigeria didn't develop. We're not looking forward. We're looking backward. Each time we're looking, what has our parents failed to do, we must do it. But not even in positive passion. No, in negative passion. People are focusing on issues of this ethnic nationalism, which I have seen no country develop for that. No country. Go to Ethiopia and see. I go to Ethiopia all the time. Look at today they are in war because of this season. I mentioned it. In the same city, they want to take over Addis Ababa, for example. Oromo want to take over Addis Ababa. I mean, where is the progress? Go and see the progress. They're looking like my village in the 1970s. That's the way the capital is. So we need to focus on the future. Nigeria has a lot of potential. If it's harnessed well, we can make things a lot better. And we have people excelling all around the world. I have lived, like I said, out of this country for a very long time. And I have lived with Nigerians that are, frankly speaking, very close to me from all parts of the country. And I think looking at that, frankly speaking, we can also do the same even here on ground. You have friends all across the country. Build that trust, build confidence, then anywhere you can be a leader. But if you don't build that trust, don't build confidence, nobody will trust you to be leader. If anybody suspects you to be coming to do unfairness, nobody will elect you, forget it. So it doesn't matter where a leader will come from. Abiola has actually changed that situation for this country. He was elected right in Kano where he defeated a Kano indigent. That shows it can be done without having to take, without having to be given on a platter of gold. We have to work hard, build a relationship, build bridges, make friends, build trust, and build confidence so that people can trust you to lead. But for as long as we continue this way, forget it. It's not going to happen.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gwandu.
It's not going to be forced to say, oh no, let's share this power. No, the issue of sharing of power. If power is, we want to share power because there's some attraction to it, because there's some unnecessary advantage people are getting. If you don't get any specific advantage because you're in that power, you don't really care who the leader is. You should be down to your own contribution, what you are able to do as a person, not because somebody is in a position is from your own locality. No, it should be your own personal contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gwandu. I don't know if anybody has any questions. You can raise your hand or indicate that you want to ask a question. I think Yomi Unuigwe has a question. So Yomi, please unmute yourself and ask your question very quickly. Yomi Unuigwe, you need to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Go ahead, ask your question very quickly.
Very quickly. Thank
Dr.
you very
Gwandu,
much, Pastor Etwa and the resource person. See, we've been saying all these things. The only thing I want to say is this.
Please speak up a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
You can hear me. What I have to say is some of us who are around when we got our independence are disappointed with what we are having today. As far as some of us are concerned, this project called Nigeria is not working. And it's not working because the Constitution is a fraud. We are just deceiving ourselves. You cannot, I'm not going to talk about true federalism. I'm going to talk about federalism. What is federalism? Why are we patching things up? The center is too strong. We have to decentralize. You cannot be controlling all states everywhere from Abuja and think the center. Look, it is clear. You cannot work together if you do not agree. How can you come and tell us we have a constitution where you say we people of Nigeria have to be? At what point? As far as I'm concerned, I will just go quickly. Well, my own suggestion is this: let's look forward for the things on exclusive list. Let us try and reduce them. Then you cannot call a governor a chief security officer of a state, and he cannot control the commissioner of police. Something has to be done about that. And we have to look at revenue allocation. Look at how lopsided the revenue is towards to the federal government. We have to do something about that. There are so many things. We have to sit down together and sit tinker with our constitution. If the foundation is faulty, there's nothing you can build upon it. I think I will not want to talk much. Nobody is talking about sharing cake. The very moment we're able to sit down and be truthful to ourselves, we work together. We have moved with people from other parts of the country before. But now, from the look of it, the way we are doing things, I don't think we can move forward. I would just like to say that we must do something about constitution and do something about this country. If this project is not working. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yomi.
Okay. May I comment? Can I take that one?
You want to take that one? Do you want us to take a few more before you reply?
Okay. Let's take a few more.
Let's take a few more. Mr. Teddy Were, I hear you on the line, and you want to ask a question or make a quick comment. Yeah, please,
thank you.
Quickly.
Thank you very much, Pastor Itwai.
I can't hear you very well. I can't hear you.
I said thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pastor. Thank you very much. Yes. My question is to Dr. Gwandu. There's a growing suggestion that the country should revert to the 1963 Constitution. that what we should do basically is wherever we see the word region, we put the word state and start from there. What does Dr. Gwandu think about that suggestion? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Were. You're asking that there's a going concern that we should go back to the 1963 Constitution and just replace the word region with states, because I don't know why the military, from whatever, maybe from the South, it was Ironsi that started this unitary government thing. And now we're back to civilian government. I think we civilians should be able to decide which way we're going. Charles, there's a gentleman called Charles. You have a question, please? Charles, are you on Instagram or are you on Zoom? Is it on Zoom, Charles?
Good evening, sir.
Okay, Charles, go ahead.
Charles.
Good evening, my mentor, Pastor Ito, and good evening, Dr. Gwandu. Thank you very much for your contributions. They are very strong and they're very solid. I want to sincerely ask, can Nigeria truly afford a federalism? Can we truly afford federalism? Looking at the high cost of governance, our senators, the amount they are being paid, the overhead here and there, can we truly afford federalism? Thank you.
Thank you. I can answer that question, Charles. It isn't federalism that's expensive. It's the type of federalism that we are seeming to practice. First of all, we don't need to have two houses. Secondly, we don't need to pay our senators as much as we're paying them on House members. Thirdly, some of them could be part-time. We can have federalism that's based on parliamentarian system and so on and so forth. But somehow the lawmakers, the people in charge, they've made it expensive. A governor doesn't need to have 20 cars in his convoy, including an ambulance he hardly ever uses. Peter Obi in Anambra State had a 3 or 4 car convoy, went around in economy and with one assistant. But these days when governors move, there's advanced party, there's retired party, there's side party, there's other party, there's SSS, there's MOPOL, there's security, there's police, everything. We don't need all these things. We need to speak to ourselves. We can have a very lean and mean and efficient government. Boris Johnson goes to work. Well, he has a Jaguar, whatever it is, but he's about the only person in the British government that has, maybe the Chancellor of the Exchequer might have. But typically, most MPs go to work by trade. They go to work by train, they go to work by bus, they go to work by their own private cars. So it's just Nigeria that makes everything elaborate and expensive. But Bashir, let me allow you to answer the 2 previous questions, then we take a few others.
Let me also add to this one that you just talked about. And so the issue here is not, like Pastor Ito mentioned, it's not about federalism. It's about cost of governance, efficiency of governance. You can still have the same arrangement and make it more efficient. Nothing stops us from making current system efficient. I'll give it to you. And you can ask any of my staff in the office. Even as acting chief executive of NCC, when I was there, I was driving myself. Except if I'm going for official function, that's when I go with official car. Most of the time, I drive myself to go to the meetings. If there is nowhere to congest, and I go with my own car, park it there, and even before this monetization. So it depends on a person and how you conduct yourself. It depends on what is made available to you, or how you decide to abuse, or how we stop the abuse. You know, immediately after those that came after, they're having security. Even in the lift, you have 2 security. Everybody has to come out in the lift before people go out. It's ridiculous. The way people are going with convoy of cars back and forth, it's ridiculous. When you see
even
this,
now you're still driving yourself, Dr. Gwandu. That one I know.
I still do. I still do. By
even
the way,
now,
I still do. Yes. I still do. But what I'm trying to say here is that there's this. We can make things more efficient, governance more efficient by still maintaining the same parallel. Because, like I said, there are different flavors of federalism. What we are implementing today is actually federalism, because, I mean, going back to the even earlier question, has current federal arrangement stopped somebody from growing in a given state, or making, or bringing something from your brain and make it work better? What has this system impeded you from contributing, getting from your brain and putting it on the ground for it to fly? That's a question you should be asking yourself. If this system doesn't stop you from bringing something from your brain and make it work, to make it better, then what are you complaining about? You know, the system has not failed you. It's you failing yourself, because the system has not stopped you from innovating. The system has not made you from coming up with something new and making it better. Now, yes, there are inefficiencies. For example, power inefficiencies, telecom inefficiencies. All of these things happen because of legacy of people's governance. But these are inefficiencies in a system. It's not to be blamed on federal management. Now we talked about finances of federal government, or vis-a-vis states. Now, I've given an example earlier that there are some states currently that are taking more share of revenue than so many states combined, and yet nobody is making them accountable. So how do you think that things will change just because you give some more revenue to some states than they are having? Even the one they have now, how many times do we go and demonstrate against a state governor? Or have you seen any demonstration against any given state governor to say, make this accountable, come up with this? State governor, I mean, not federal government. All the time, focus on federal government. Nobody is checking what the local government is doing with its own money, what the state is doing with the money it's already getting. These are the questions that we should begin to ask first. When we make things better before us, then we say, hey, we have already got a better system. Now let's move to the next level, making the bigger system better. But show the example that you can actually make the one close to you now better than it is, because that's money allocated. How is that put to use? Nobody is asking the questions. And the state government, like Pastor mentioned earlier, convoy of cars, so many new things. People are spending your money, but nobody is asking the right question. So the cost of governance is an issue of efficiency of current system. It's not because of failure of constitution. When we say constitution is a fraud, for that constitution, the question before us is, has that constitution stopped you from bringing anything that you can do in any other country? Tell me one country where you can, because they have different constitutions, that you can do something better that this country has stopped you from doing. I mean, the country is very, very liberal, this country. It allows you to do a lot of things. The only thing you don't have, like I said, is issue of efficient performance. It's not an issue of constitution. It's an issue of lack of education to select the right people, poverty that makes it difficult for people to abandon the 2,000 naira they will get on election day to vote the right kind of person. You know, so these two, when you address education and poverty, you get the right kind of people, electorate that will have to think properly, objectively, and independently, and make the right choice. And when they make the right choice, the person now knows that if he's accountable to those people, if he doesn't do the right thing, they are educated enough to question him and to change him if necessary, given, the next 4 years. So fix the education, fix poverty as much as possible. You will see that situation will change a lot at the center or at any given level. Now, the Constitution, like I said to you, the question you should ask yourself, has this stopped you from doing what you can do? Has this stopped you from if you like, exploring your potential to the maximum? What has it done? You know, if you say government efficiency, like so I mentioned, yes, that's for efficiency. I cannot question that. In our sector, it's for efficiency that led some of us out of government actually, because we start to make things as much as possible better, giving our own little power to do what we can do. If everybody does that kind of thing and contribute, the country will be a lot better than it is. But the country needs to rise. People like you need to rise and say, hey, let's have more efficiency, let's have more transparency, let's have more accountability in the current arrangement. If it fails after that, then you can think about changing the constitution. But I don't see any. Many times you change the constitution, what are you going to get? It's the implementation that matters. And I don't think the implementation today prevents you from growing to your potential. That's just my an issue of resource allocation. Circumstances are such that, I mean, you can't get 100% right. Like I said, I gave an example of some states getting more share than several states put together, but because of pressure, the way they put pressure, and they got certain percentage. If ideally, like I said, you should not be getting just something for coming from the ground. I mean, not because it doesn't come from my locality. I mean, although we have some knowledge from my locality, no, I'm not saying this because it didn't come from my locality. I live in the country and work as a person to survive and somewhere. It means I can survive anywhere, and I'm still surviving really mainly from outside of this country. But what I'm trying to say here is that let us not get advantage because we are sitting on top of something in that locality. That should be harnessed, just like it's happened in Scotland. That money is taken, let it be used somewhere. If you don't get advantage, it means it's your own hard work, then you can now not be asking questions about whether resource has been shared. What share? It doesn't matter how it's shared. It's your own efficiency that should matter. It's your own contribution as a person that should matter. Whether you have done something and you are deprived from benefit from what you have contributed. That should be the question you'll be asking, not what has come under the ground. You have the right as a citizen to say what has come out should be used efficiently. I agree with that totally. It should be used efficiently, certainly. But I think your focus should be more on what you as a person is able to contribute, or how are you able to use your time and effort to checkmate misuse of the given resources that are even allocated as of today. Once you solve that, then you can think about change the Constitution. But the Constitution, as far as I'm concerned, has not stopped anybody in Nigeria from exploring his potential to the maximum. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gwandu. We're going to take another set of questions, but I just want to make one or two comments. I think the issue with the Constitution and this issue of resource control is that this exclusive list actually does not encourage, first of all, the states and individuals from developing resource that's available in any locality. So you go to a locality, you want to mine for oil, or you want to mine for gold, or you want to mine for bitumen, you want to mine for diamonds. They say, no, it belongs to the federal government. Unless the federal government gives you permission or takes it out of the ground, you can't get it. And even if you take it out of the ground, you have to give all the money to the federal government, and then they will decide to give 13% or 12% or 4% or anything they want. So that discourages investment in this resource. The second thing about capacity to develop yourself, you yourself will realize, and you said it yourself, that the corruption in government drove somebody like you that has 5 degrees in all manners of electronics and whatever out of government. So all that education, all that knowledge that you have is not being properly harnessed in this country that you came from. And a lot of people like you, it's just because you like Nigeria. Most people like you are out of this country. They're working for Canada, they're working for United Kingdom, they're working for Saudi Arabia, they're working for UAE. They're out because the corruption, the lack of focus, the lack of vision, the difficulty of operating in Nigeria drives them out. And those that remain are not regarded, they are not appreciated, they are impoverished, they are disregarded, they are abused, they are driven and hounded out of places of production. And this is what we have in Nigeria. And that's part of what these young NSAS people were saying. Those children were crying that in this country, we cannot get jobs, we cannot work, we are trying to use our brains. Some policeman is stopping you and saying that because your hair is funny, you must be doing yahoo yahoo. And then you are bonded into the police station or whatever. You don't have the option of even asking for your lawyer. You are just there for 4 days. And if you are not careful, they kill you and nothing happens. This is part of our problem in Nigeria. Everywhere is choked, and nobody is allowed even to use their brain, as you have said. No, I was talking to a businessman yesterday. He says that he's angry because to get a license to import, to clear his goods, to pay tax, to go to government, some guy sits in secretariat. He just makes life unbearable for him, not knowing how much effort he has put in. And on top of that, the guy asks him for a bribe, that unless he bribes him or pays this or pays that, his approval for this and that will not be signed. What do we do in Nigeria, where people have their legs on the neck of even Dangote himself? I know what he's gone through to try and keep his businesses working in Nigeria. I know what he goes through every day. The man doesn't sleep. And at his age and stage, for him to be going through so much hassle to survive in Nigeria, and many, many are like that. After a while, they give up. Either they stop or they get out of this country. Somebody came to me, Bashir. He said he was going to pay $1 million to get a second passport for himself and his family. If I mention his name, you will know him. A very, very senior Nigerian. And somebody came, sent me an advert to my WhatsApp that, Pastor, come and get the passport of Grenada, come and get Bahamas, come and get this. I said, how much? He said 100,000 for passport of Grenada. When I went to school from this country, 1978, 79, with my passport, I went to the British Embassy. They gave me visa on my own personal recognition as a 16, 17-year-old boy. I took 500 naira to Union Bank. They gave me 495 pounds back. This same country. What are we doing? I want you to speak to this, and it is very painful to me. And I'm going to ask Yahuza, I think he must be your relative, Gwandu, Sonny Enebi, and also Iyasu, to ask their questions one after the other like that. And then I'll allow you to speak to this issue.
Can we take this first before we go to those next steps? Is it possible?
Okay, take this, and then I'll take those questions, and then we'll have to close because of time.
It's a burning and touchy issue for me, personally. I, like NSAS guys, was used to demonstrate in London and other places as a young person. From the early 1990s to much into 2000, actually. And I was working there, and I was actually, if you like, recruited from abroad to come back and serve. What happened was that the person I spent my time criticizing was the person who invited me, the government that invited me to come back and work.
I didn't hear you.
They said the government I was criticizing at the time wasn't the government, was the government that invited me to come and work in Nigeria. Now, when we came back, I did what I can to change the situation. And we did a lot in telecoms. We've been in the engine room of a lot of the things that have happened. We happen to be specific. But we did a lot of things that everybody's benefiting from today. Certainly within a short period of my arrival into the country, we took certain decisions that really changed a lot of things in telecom space. For those who are in telecom, they will know this. But I don't want to go into specifics of what we are able to do. Everybody is a witness that telecom has changed significantly. A lot of it was down to our efforts, really. Now, why I said this, that you mentioned the issue of people having to go outside of this country to work. I mean, I'm still in this country, and I'm sure you know that I refuse to go back even after I was sacked. I still remain in Nigeria. People have even intimidated me to that fine. I just say, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to stay and do my part. And even while here, I still contribute. I still do a lot of my activities abroad, as you probably know very well. I'm sure you know very well. I still do it. Even while in Nigeria here, I can still give my service to all over the world. And while I'm maybe sitting on this chair where I'm sitting, I still give my service to all over the world. All I need is my computer and do what I have to do. So these things can happen. You can be somewhere, but there's certainly many good hands out there that can contribute. And frankly speaking, if we can encourage them to come back, a lot of them to come back, and give them opportunity to contribute, a lot will change. Because most of those people that are abroad actually are dispassionate. They're generally professionals. When they are there, they don't think about where they come from. They just focus on the work. So those kind of people, when they come back home, they will focus properly on the work, and the country will change. But here, people are thinking of where you come from, where should I be, what would look. I mean, those sort of things that actually push you to start looking backward instead of looking forward. So I think I agree with you totally that we should encourage as much as possible our compatriots that are outside the country that can contribute more to come back to Nigeria and contribute. Now, the issue of getting passports and work, other opportunities, or this issue of somebody who is facing a lot of bureaucracy. I'll give you a typical example. When Airtel wanted to come and invest in Nigeria, they came to me. The chairman was, I'm trying to remember his name. He's still the chairman of Flour Mills. He came with a team, I can remember. Said they wanted to invest. They want to bring $600 million to invest in Nigeria. And they said, oh, they're worried that this will take 6 months for this approval process. I called in a meeting. I said, look, okay, here's your debt that you have to clear. Normally, you have to clear debt before you. I give you 24 hours. If you clear this, tomorrow you have all the approvals you require. And that is what happened. The next day, 24 hours, they have got all the approvals, and Airtel came to Nigeria, and they're still in Nigeria. 24 hours. So this thing can be done. Can be done. And I'll give you another example of this inefficiency. Even inside the situation, you can make your own contribution. Of course, there are challenges out there. I mean, why I face the challenges I face? I mean, people who are taking chunk of federal assets that should have gone to education, should have gone to health, should have gone to so many things. They wanted me to sign some of this. Because these things were being taken. I said, no, I'm not going to sign. There was a lot of pressure, but I still refused. I knew the consequences. I've been told the consequences. I knew my cycling was coming 2 weeks down the line. I still stayed the course and did what I had to do. So there are people there, but why am I able to do this? It's because of that independence. Once people are educated, you have that independence to think, you can survive no matter the circumstances. You can survive it. Therefore, you can do it. So what is important is you get the right kind of people in the right kind of position. I think it can be more efficient. I think the country can be a lot better. Focusing on what divides us doesn't help this country. Focusing on what you can do better in your own sphere of control. I think that's what will make us a lot better as a people, as a country. And look, honestly, we can change this country given the opportunity to do so. We can change a lot of things. But unfortunately, it's an opportunity. There are people, all those people abroad we are talking about, it's an opportunity they haven't got. A lot of them want to come back home and contribute, but the opportunity is not there. So we need to have a forum or an avenue where we can attract talents to come back to this country and contribute. Because so a lot of them will be happy to come and contribute for minimal comparison to what they will be getting wherever they're getting it. So it is our own decision what to make policy. Of course, this government has started by having diaspora commission, but diaspora commission is not just enough. We need to put, if you like, there needs to be more action to make this work, attract the talents, But once there is this inefficiency and the people are being chased, not many people will risk their family lives and take the kind of risk I have taken or many others have taken, because I'm sure there are so many people out there that have fought the way I fought to fight and stay the course. Many can, but there are a few that can say, look, it's not worth it. That's why they're having the passport and stay there wherever they stay. But there are others who, even given the passport out there, they will still stay in Nigeria and they'll still contribute here. So let's see, look.
They're there, but there are not many of them. I must salute your courage, because anybody in your position, and I feel for you, I feel for you, that first of all, you were not fairly treated. Secondly, we can't have your kind of knowledge and resource and capacity, and we're not using it in Nigeria. I mean, how can a man have 5 degrees in telecom and Nigeria is not using those degrees? I don't understand it. But this is the Nigeria we found ourselves in.
But
and there are millions of you abroad, in America, everywhere. Nigerian doctors with dual degrees, they won't come back because they will be frustrated if they come back. If they try to do things properly, they will frustrate them. If they refuse to be corrupt, they will frustrate them. So the best of Nigerian brains are out of this country. I know what I've been through. I know. And we must collectively come together and readdress this situation. It cannot continue. But anyway, let me take the questions from Yahuza Gwandu, also Tolu Dare, I think it is in communications. You might want to speak a little bit. Jasmine Onyeku, Sonny Enebi, and then I'm going to ask Uncle Ayo Padokun to give a remark, and then we will close. So in that order, please. Yahuza, please, your question very quickly, 30 seconds. Toludare, 30 seconds. Sonny and Jasmine, 31 seconds each. And then we take a quick comment. Very good. Yahuza?
Hello? Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Alaikum assalam.
Before I drop my suggestion, I want to thank my brother, Dr. Gwandu, for the insight. We're really proud of you, sir. Then my suggestion here is that there is need for offline meeting to address this issue, more especially in our northern region. Why? Because our northern youth didn't even understand what leadership is all about, talk less of politics. So we are continuing doing all this online. Our people will never understand what we are saying unless.
I can't hear you, Yahuza. Please speak up.
Hello, sir.
Speak louder. Hello. I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Louder.
A bit louder. Go ahead.
I say my suggestion here, there is a need for offline meeting to address this issue, so that our people, more especially the northern youth, can understand this properly. Because we are continue talking online, but still issue are still there. Because people who are online are not there offline to look at all these things we are talking about always. Are you with me?
All right. Yes.
So
Thank you very much. I think it's a great suggestion. And I would like to link up with you, Yahuza, to see how we can work on this suggestion together. And I'm sure
sir.
Your brother or your uncle, Dr. Bashir, will be part of it. This is part of what we want to achieve on this platform, how we can make things happen in every part of Nigeria. So I'll take your number from your brother, or you can take my number from him, and let's see how we can work on this together.
Okay, sir.
Tolu
Thank you very
Dare,
much.
Please very quickly unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor. Are you hearing me?
I can hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Pastor and Doctor, for the very important and very rich contributions you have all made. Now, I want to join the last speaker, Pastor Itua. Please include me in the offline meeting you are going to have. Now, I just want to make 1, 2, 3 quick contributions. We are saying we want to end poverty. How do we do it? Even tonight, we've discussed about ending poverty. I want us to go to the details. Maybe we are going to do that offline. Then secondly, in this country now, people are referred to as hoodlums when they were never taken care of. And the people that destroyed properties all over the country, you call them hoodlums. A lot of them are even graduates. They are not the NSAS educated young people that protested originally. But we need to do something about it. And somebody suggested on TVC yesterday, and maybe, Pastor, you can give this information to the powers that be. These so-called hoodlums should be engaged in rebuilding whatever we are going to rebuild. Make them part of the people that will rebuild Lagos and all the other places. Give them work to do. Let them be part of the people that will do these jobs, so that when they do it, it's going to be impossible or difficult for them to want to destroy again. Then the last point I want to make is that it's like our government and our leaders are not listening. They do not even understand what people are talking about. I don't want to see, in the first place, those toll gates that have been vandalized. It's not good that they were vandalized, but to show that government is listening, just leave those things for now and let's solve most of these problems before we start rebuilding. And if we are going to rebuild, let's rebuild with the intention of getting some of these folks that do not have anything to do to engage them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dari. Those points are noted, and I'm sure Dr. Gwandu has noted them. And when he's responding, he will make his comments concerning them. Sonny and Ebi, quickly, please.
Thank you very much, Pastor Itua. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, sir.
I just wanted to highlight the fact of some of the things you kept saying, that the Constitution is not constraining anybody or any state from making their progress. And I want to just oppose that against some things that have happened. When Bola Tinubu was governor in Lagos State, for example, I think they brought a badge. They wanted to go ahead with their own state electricity. Now we all know that electricity is a big problem in Nigeria. Now we still have states cannot generate. Even you as a technical person, supposing you wanted to generate, number one, that you will not be allowed to do that. Two, all over this country, there are resources in every state, but the states are not able to tap those resources to use them for the benefit of their people. What would you say if the Constitution is tinkered in such a way as to allow each state to be able to tap their resources to use for the benefit of their people? Don't you agree that it will help states to develop faster and make more meaningful contribution for all the regions of the country? Let me leave it at those two. But there are so many other things. That security is one, again, that if you may like to look at. Okay, but let me leave it there so that we don't take too much time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sonny. You made an example of Lagos State in Bola Tinubu's time, discouraged from doing the electricity. I think that situation has changed slightly, but that was a problem at that time. And I'm sure Dr. Gwandu will speak to it. And also the limitation of states to develop their resources, which I've also mentioned. He'll speak to that also. Let's go very quickly to Jasmine. Jasmine Onyeku.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. She's speaking from Canada, if I remember very well.
Yes, sir. I'm here in Canada. Thank you so much, Pastor. Thank you, Doctor, for the very packed communication and session. I do want to say that for us to make progress, we have to be very good at embracing the truth. The failures of the past are feedback for the future. We can't live in denial. We can't say Nigeria is an enabling place. Nigeria as it is disabling. No matter how much potential people carry, the environment has to work with the potential within the human being for them to reach their full expression. That's one. Number two, we don't need to come back home. Those of us who are in the diaspora, we must leverage technology. We must capitalize on opportunities to serve. I'm here willing to serve my dear motherland. I just need somebody to show me how I can do it. So we don't need to be back home. We can bring our resources with using technology. The third thing I need to ask the African Leadership Group is there any roadmap at your implementation procedure with objective key results, requirements, timelines that we need to track? We need to have this roadmap so that I know as a part of the African Leadership Group, this is what we want to accomplish in the next 5 years, and this is where I fit in. This is the stake that I want to hold in this whole objective. So please, let's talk about that. So, and lastly, I want to say, Pastor, we need to explore the spiritual dimension of the average Nigerian. The average Nigerian has so much physical vigor, has mental vitality. We're so industrious. We're the most read and intellectual people in the world. Why can't we fix Nigeria? Because we're too dependent on our intellectuality. We have to elevate to the place of our spiritual capacity. And, you know, Dr. Gwandu spoke to that, building confidence, building trust, building character. We individually must embody the leadership we want to see in Nigeria, in the way we treat our spouses, in the way we treat our keepers, in the way we treat the people on the street. So if we don't embody that leadership, we cannot demand it. If we don't embody it individually in our little capacities, we cannot demand it from our leaders. So these are the three things I want to say. Thank you, sirs, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Yasmin. Very grateful. I don't know if Mr. Ayokwadoku is on the platform. If he has any comments very quickly, please unmute yourself, sir, and then we will then get you to respond, Dr. Gwandu. And I'll ask you one final question and we will close.
Thank you very much, Pastor. Well, I want to thank your guest speaker today, Dr. Gwandu, but I'm afraid that in all his submission, he had evaded responding appropriately to the matter of federalism. And what he was talking about, the flavor, federalism flavor of India, Brazil, and that kind of a thing, seems to be really not the substantive matter that is connected. Nigeria has to be recognized to be an heterogeneous society with different culture, different language, different religion, different artifacts, different folklore, different folklores, different morals, different mores. The Professor J.K. Ware, the greatest authority on federalism, had suggested the way out. In every given society where there is a unilingual human beings living in that geographical entity, only unitary constitution will work for them. Wherever it is a bilingual or multilingual, multi-language, multi-religious people that are in such geographical setting, a federal constitutional arrangement is the most suitable. If you change the two, it will result in chaos. And globally, wherever you have used force to cohabit people of different languages, different religions together, it had not always lasted. That was the experiment that was practiced in the Union of Soviet Republic, and it failed. It failed in Czechoslovakia. As soon as Father Tito left this world, the Russia divide, it failed. Great Britain is fighting its terrible, but very, very on any battle with Wales, with Scotland, with the Irish. The truth of the matter was that the federal constitutional arrangement that was secured, we secured our independence on the federal constitutional arrangement because our ethnic nationalities and nationalists who were the politicians, they recognized the heterogeneity of the Nigerian setting, so that you allow all these differences to reign, and then we meet at the center. The center was not supposed to be the boss or the master of the component unit. But when the military subverted the democratic government led by Prime Minister Alhaji Tafawa Balewa, what they did was to subjugated, abrogated that federal constitutional arrangement to which all Nigerians subscribe to, and replace it with a unitary centralist condition in their various decrees. He was talking about the fact that the state have not been stopped from developing their own resources. That is really not speaking realistically in terms of the fact of the matter. By the decrees, the central military government appropriated all the major sources of revenue of the regions to the central government, so much that the government at the regions, then at the states, as they balkanize it to date, never have any genuine reason to source for independent source of income. They wait for the manna to come from Abuja for them to do anything. I must never fail to realize to mention that because of the unitarist and centralist government that has been foisted upon us by the Nigerian army, what it has led to is unfairness, injustice, inequity, total disregard and disrespect for the rule of law. And that is what Nigerians are talking about. It has led to nepotism to the extent that only a sectional group of people have been privileged to be in critical position of government. Each time that section was made forced to release particular position to another set of people, they ring around them with security and intelligence which they control, and therefore nothing will work until that man is removed. Finally, if you talk about national government expenses on Lagos, I think perhaps we're not being honest with ourselves in that kind of discussion. As at that time when the central government was residing in Lagos here, Alhaji, the father of Shehu Musa Alhaji Yaradua, was the minister of Federal Capital Territory Lagos since they created Abuja. Who else, apart from people from a sectional part of Nigeria, have been the minister of the Federal Capital Territory? So you find out that nepotism are taking over. And I refer you again to the current situation that people have campaigned against in the last 6-7 years. You talk about National Security Council. If you look at what had been happening on this last one that was held, really you cannot call that one a Nigeria Security Council. Whereas the second part of Nigerian Constitution dealing with fundamental objectives and directive principles of state policy, Section 14, subsection 3 says no agency of government should be composed in such a manner as to have preponderance of particular set of people to dominate it. And that is what we have today in Nigeria. Is the reason why Nigeria seems to be a country of opposites. We export what we don't have: good government, good election, and we import what we have. We have petroleum, yet we are importing it. So it is, if we are going to be sincere with ourselves, I believe that we need to take fundamental decision to sit down together to answer the national question. And the national question is about the question of justice, of equity, of fairness, of respect for the rule of law. When we agree together, then we can write our own constitution. All the constitution that Nigeria have had during the time of colonialism was presented over by the British. And when the army took over, it had been presided over by the Nigerian army that had the preponderance of them from a particular section of the country. So that has been the situation. We have not had a situation where Nigeria had been given the privilege to decide as to what they have, or what they want to belong.
I think let's so I don't forget other points.
Bashir, please answer that. Make your final comments. My last question for you is that if you were president of the Federal Republic, what would you do? But then speak to everything and conclude, and let's try and close this meeting. Thank you very much for being here on this platform. Thank you very much, Uncle Ayo, for those explanations and those questions. Really appreciate them.
Let me start with Uncle Ayo. I will insist. I will call him Uncle Ayo because I think these are uncle ideas that we still keep going back to. I think we need to, as people, as much as possible, link ourselves from the old debates as much as possible if we're going to make significant progress. Those ideas are really people of Uncle Ayo's generation and probably partly mine. We need as much as possible, like I said, the inefficiency, I think we talked about it here. There's a lot of inefficiency in governance. Nobody is in doubt about that. Nobody is disputing that. We even mentioned, and I think Jasmine's comment earlier about getting diaspora people to, which I mentioned, I think these are clearly apt points that we can get new generation with new ideas, thinking about new, where the whole world is facing, not really looking back. Where is the world facing? When we talk about, people are not talking about going to space, they're putting new satellites, artificial intelligence. Things are keeping their mind active, useful things. But we are focusing our mind on what has happened in the 60s and the 70s. I think time will move from that. Focus on what we can change by our own effort. Like I said, the Constitution has not stopped anybody from making contribution to make things better. Of course, there are inefficiencies. That said, there are still inefficiencies that we need to improve on. Now, this issue of federalism, like I said, countries have different flavor of federalism. India has many tribes. It's not one. There have been more differences than us in a way. Egypt, China, they're not all Chinese. There are other people, others, minorities, that all mixed together. If you go to maybe United States, by the way, they all speak English now, but they used to be different. They used to be Spanish speaking. They used to be different. Indigenous people and British people, all this people develop, countries develop with time. You know, there are other, like I said, I'm not an expert in political science, but I know there are many countries I've looked at before that have different levels of federalism that are still working. The issue of saying unitary, or because people speak the same language or the same culture, therefore they shouldn't mix. No. People have still different cultures in many countries and they still work together. The issue is, what is the direction everybody is facing? Are you facing a different direction to another, or are we all facing the same direction? If we're all facing the same direction, and I think it's possible to face the same direction, with the right leadership. I gave you an example of myself when, frankly speaking, even my going to England was initiated by somebody that's not even from the north, for my education. So there are people out there that don't think local. They think vast. They look at the future. They see potential in people, and they encourage them to harness that potential. And that is the kind of leadership we require. People that can see potential in people, no matter where they come from, and harness that potential to bring benefit to the generality of the people. But this thinking, I want the youth, in particular those in the forum, I hope there are many youths listening to this conversation, to link themselves, completely delink from that old thinking of where we came from. We need a history, but the history should enable us to say, we want to forget what we have failed on. Now let's focus on what we can build on. I think that's what we should be doing. Focus on what we can build on. I mean, nobody in Europe is talking about, even Scotland that you mentioned, nobody is talking about, because there are different tribes or so on. They're looking at management issues, inefficiencies in governance. So when there are inefficiencies in governance, you can improve it. Even in the state, you can improve inefficiencies in governance. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the governance. I will mention it here. So that, given, we can improve. Frankly speaking, working together as larger nations, stronger nations, will make us better and stronger than making as small countries that are continuously, we're going to have a lot of chaos. Like I gave example of Ethiopia, please go and study it. See how infighting, even within the same tribe, how killings are happening. And they have not even been colonized, for God's sake. We have been colonized, they have not even been colonized. They have all the freedom to have progress, but they didn't make the progress. So these things is not all, is about right kind of leadership. We get the right kind of leadership that can bring right talents to work together, like they've done in Obasanjo's time, like I said. We can get that kind of leadership, and that leadership will continue to bring that potential to bear on the ground and make things better. So, and it doesn't have to, it's where you come from. So now, going back,
Dr. Gwandu, in closing,
let me go back to, okay.
How would what would you do if you were president of the Federal Republic? And how do we get good people to be president in Nigeria?
If I'm the president, I'll certainly focus on more efficiency. I'll focus on building education. I will focus on technology. I will focus on security. Technology, security, effectively education. I'll put a lot more on education. When I say education, especially technical education, that will bring more and quick more to bear on the economy And so, because I was trying to address the issue of economy, how do we make things better? Because right kind of education will bring, I mean, if you like, immediate benefit. When I say immediate benefit, because if you have technology, somebody that builds skills can easily manufacture new things. Technical education, of course, all education are important, but for a developing country, you need things that you can easily produce to keep people in jobs, to ramp up the economy, you know. I mean, and these are the things you get to do, particularly technical. I mean, we need to really think like the way China did it, the way China is doing it. And I mean, remember, in those days, we used to have Chinese product, we said that it was substandard. But its efficiency issue was time they improve it. They started somewhere. So they build education, mathematics, physics, I mean, things that you can, economics, all of these things that we can now actually have direct, immediate bearing on the economy. I will focus a lot on that to develop the country. Things that will really, just like Dubai, the way that in technology, new technology that, I mean, look out, even today, I have an email saying that they built, I mean, in UAE, they're giving scholarships for people to study artificial intelligence. I mean, from all over the world. Now, this is the thinking. Not whether the constitution has this last one. No, the thinking is how it can bring somebody from another part of the world to come and stay with us. For as long as you can build this idea, for as long as you can come and bring that benefit to our people, come and stay here. People are encouraged to do it. Why can't we do the same? Get the right talent, get all our talents from abroad to come and produce and work, and give them, create the right atmosphere for them to work. And let them bring all that benefit that they are given elsewhere to benefit their own people here. And so that we can make progress. But let's stop going back to history. But unless we're going back to history, if we only go back to history, just go and look at it and see where things have gone wrong, and then we'll focus on what we need to do better. But not clinging to the old ideas. I think these are old ideas that we need to, Uncle Ayo need to give away for new ideas, for new generation to come with new ideas so we can make progress. That is my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, my brother, I hear you. But one passage in the Bible that I will not forget, it says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can right thinking or the righteous do? I think what Mr. Okwadoku is saying is that the foundation of our union is shaky. The concept, the basis on which we are discussing and planning and building is shaking. So if your foundation is bad, your building will be tilted. And if you don't repair that foundation, you will not have strong building.
Yeah, let me take that.
Because if we cannot...
I was going to comment on an idea that actually now reminds me about the question that came up, I think from Sonny, I think. I didn't address that, because this is now to do with the foundation, the constitution you're talking about. He mentioned that level wouldn't invest in electricity. I actually referred to the constitution section on the second schedule, number 14, as A and B. Let him go and refer to that. The constitution allows states to generate, allows states to invest. I mean, we have states that have invested in telecoms. I mean, once market is liberalized, and you can actually invest, even as state, anybody can invest, but it's not encouraged for government to, because of efficiency improvement. We always want to encourage investors that can manage more efficiently. But governments have invested in these sectors. They invested, but not saying direct state control like a bureaucracy. That invest in it as a business. Governments have been investing. I know that governments have invested in even Airtel that we are talking about. It started from investment from some governments. And there are government investment even in MTN. I think there are some that have some shares. So also in the power sector, governments have not, I don't think government have been deprived or have been in support investing. But certainly the constitution, from what I'm reading, on the concurrent list, that is, I mean, state assembly can actually make laws. It says here, a house of assembly may make laws for the state with respect to A, B, C, D, and electricity is all there. Generation is all there. Go and look at it. So the constitution has not made any limits. The foundation is strong for us to build on. It is us that will refuse to look at it and use it properly.
No. I don't think, Bashir, it's okay. You and I will discuss it offline.
We can discuss this endlessly.
Pastor, can I say something for 1 minute?
No. But let's close. I want to thank everyone for being on this platform. It's been a very robust discussion. I want to thank my friend and my brother, Bashir, for taking the time out to be with us and for sharing with us the privilege of his experience. As I said, I do apologize on behalf of Nigeria that a lot of people of his intelligence and caliber, the system, which is faulty, based on a bad foundation, is choking them out and making it difficult. On this platform, I have many, many people in the diaspora, doctors, dentists, nurses, everybody who really want to come back and be part of what we're doing in Nigeria. Jasmine said it. Jasmine, I'll discuss with you later. You can call me. I'll tell you what the roadmap is and what we're trying to do. But they are frustrated out of their mind. My friend Good Anyanwu is there. We've been together for many years. He started off in Nigeria here as an accountant, a consultant. Eventually, he had to find himself in New York. He's been there almost 25 years and wondering how he can come back and be part of Nigeria. That's why he's almost on this platform every week, trying to see what to do. But if you drop them in Nigeria today, the security will chase them, the environment will harm them, the corruption will disappoint them. And because they don't have that ability to think through the corruption, they just find that they go to a place where things work and there are rules. Anyway, I thank everybody. God bless you all. Thomas Jefferson says, I am owned, I am not a friend to very energetic government. It's always oppressive. Then Alex Hamilton said, the propriety of a law in a constitutional light must always be determined by the nature of the powers upon which it is founded. I think whether we like it or not, we will get Nigeria right. Nigeria is a great country. Nigeria will be great again. God will help us, give us the vision, the ability, the capacity, the determination, the courage to encourage and bring together great leadership. I want to encourage the youth, especially those who went through this ENSA struggle. Their struggle is not in vain. They have awakened some sensitivity, both in government and in us, their elders. And I'm sure that by God's grace, Nigeria will make a way for them. I commiserate with the families that lost loved ones, those young children, they died. There's no doubt about that. I also commiserate with the police and the security forces that also lost some people, and all the people, government and private, that lost property and chattels, the government buildings all over Lagos, in Calabar, even in some parts of the East and in Edo State where I come from, prison breakouts and things like that. I really commiserate. The carnage and the destruction is unbelievable. I went through Lagos City Hall yesterday. It was unbelievable. Lagos High Court, unbelievable. MPA building, unbelievable. Various banks, unbelievable. TVC, the Nation newspapers, everybody was affected. I commiserate with everybody and Nigeria. I do believe that God will help us. I want the NSAS people not to be discouraged, to be encouraged. Dialogue with government. Government will and must listen to its people, and we will find a way up for Nigeria. And I want to assure them of my prayers, my support, my encouragement, so that we can all sit together with government, find a way forward, make contributions, add value, make suggestions, and make Nigeria great again. Thank you all very much. God bless you. God strengthen you. God be with us in Nigeria. We'll be back on Thursday at 5 o'clock with a very, very robust topic. Bashir, you want to say something?
I just want to also thank everybody for the chance to have this dialogue and the opportunity to have this discussed. And also with the MSAs that you mentioned, I want to encourage them to, I feel like, respect, while they are pushing their right, respect other people's right. I mean, I was like I said, I've demonstrated all over in my life from 1990s in London and so on, looking for good governance in Nigeria. I've done that over and over, but we never block the road. I happened to come into Nigeria on the day they started. I struggled to escape through that. I think let's just demonstrate, but respect other people's rights. It's very important that whilst we pursue our rights under the Constitution, we respect other people's rights. It's very important. So when I say this, I mean it from my heart, that you will even get more support by respecting other people's time while you are doing what you're doing. Thank you. And thank you.
No problem. I think, yeah, thank you. I think they do hear that. I didn't think they meant to disrespect. The thing is, well, it took a turn, but it's okay. We will find a way forward, and all will be well. But likely the demonstrations were quite peaceful, very organized, and all that. But let's move forward with a stronger, vibrant nation and make Nigeria truly great. God bless you all. Enjoy your weekend. My brother Bashir, God bless you and God strengthen you. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you very much. We will talk and see how we can move things forward.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.